Hey everyone, today we're going to be breaking down the 1/4 scale Frieza from Tsume Studio. Now, you may see that I have two different Friezas in my hand, which might look a little weird because he only comes with one. The reason I ended up getting two is I ordered my statue from a store called Hexapus, and they were so kind after I ended up dealing with a massive break in my base. They ended up sending me an entire new second box, and I ended up getting a second Frieza. So let me know in the comments if I should end up painting this gold or giving it a new paint job. Maybe I'll even do Black Frieza from Dragonballz Super, see what it looks like, you know, we got an extra one. But I ended up having a few issues with my statue, unfortunately, when I got it. While I do love this statue, it is one of my favorite ones I've ever gotten. It is also one of the most stressful times I've had when it comes to a statue. When I bought this statue, and I've got some pre-recorded footage, otherwise I would have the two bases next to each other, but I did end up getting rid of the broken one. But when I ended up getting it, there was a huge crack that went around the entirety of the base. Now, I was working day and day with Hexapus to figure out how can we get this repaired? How can we get a replacement? What can we do as our next steps? And Hexapus really stepped up. They got me a replacement. They really didn't cause me any sort of stress, and it came within a day of them telling me they shipped it. I couldn't believe it. I actually was in a meeting and my wife had let me know that Frieza was in the garage. And to me, Hexapus had told me the day before, hey, I just shipped out the replacement. So it was kind of a funny moment to just walk in and see, okay, that's next day air. This statue to me is one of my favorites that I've gotten the chance to open. And we're gonna go through each and every part of the statue, showing you how we put it together, going through and discussing the different things that it has in the positive column, and then looking at some of the things that it could have done better. This statue does come in two giant boxes. They are really beautiful art boxes, nice purple foil around the whole thing. It's about, I think it's 80 kilograms for the entire statue. And one of the other things that I really do love about this statue is the giant ES. I know that that's normally not something people want, is a large run size for a statue. There's 4,000 of these guys out there, but it's kind of nice because it makes it accessible to a lot of people. Whereas some statues, there's a run size of 200, 500, and once they're gone, you're gonna struggle a lot to find them. When I bought mine, I ended up paying $1,199 through Hexapus, and they actually still have a few in stock. I'll leave a link in the description below to go to their website and snag it. The reason I bring that price up is this guy actually ended up retailing at about $1,500 US. And I do think that it's worth the $1,500. I really don't see how we could have gotten it for $11.99, but to me that's a steal of a deal when it comes to a nice licensed Tsume piece. Now, throughout the video, you're gonna hear me say Tsume and Tsume. And the reason for that is I've heard many different people critique me on the way I pronounce it, so I'm just gonna throw them in both ways, just so I'm on everybody's good side when it comes to this review. Moving on to the building portion, I will usually recommend going from the biggest water piece down to the smallest, just because it makes it a seamless process. I've tried doing it the other way, pieces start to smack against each other, it doesn't really work that well. One of the things I really do love about this piece is these giant water effects. At first, when we got to see them on Tsume's website, I was worried that we were going to experience a lot of breaks with these because of all the just individual pieces we have along the top of the waves. Unfortunately, I did experience one small break, which I will go through again. The one part that I ended up having break was the tip of the back of the water piece on the middle part of the base. So it's easy to glue, it's not that big of a deal, but it is something that unfortunately did happen with mine. Now, one of the things that I also do love about this is the transparency of the resin. I like how they put rocks in here, and I like how they were able to hide Frieza's peg hole. So as soon as you put Frieza into the base, it looks like he's floating because the water is hiding it. One of the things I really do love about this Frieza is the purple color that they ended up getting for the chest, the head, the arms, and the legs. They really captured the perfect purple tone, and they also, it's a little bit difficult to see, so we'll do a close-up, but the hands are actually glowing red based off of the orb that's above it. So it's a nice way to tie every piece in, and the sculpt on the face, it's perfect, it's Frieza. I know when we first saw the announcement from Tsume, the fear was, his face looks weird, it's wonky, it doesn't look like Frieza, and they did end up making some adjustments to it. I do think at the moment that this is the best Frieza sculpt that we have on the market, and it's easy enough to key him in, so all you have to do is slide him right into the little hole in the base, and he ends up looking like he's floating in midair, which is just a really cool thing that only Tsume, I think, would do. It also kind of reminds me of something dynamic like a last sleep piece. Okay, the big orange ball. Now, one of the things that I'll say when we first got this was I was worried that we were going to have some breaks with this. I saw it and I just assumed all these little, I guess, strands or points on the ball I figured would snap off in shipping, but Tsume did a phenomenal job shipping it. I had no breaks with this ball. Why I say to put this in last is you just really don't want to be fiddling Frieza when you're trying to get this guy in. And to get him in, it's pretty easy. It keys right into where it's supposed to be, and you're good to go. Last but not least, we have this really dumb rock piece. I have no idea why Tsume did it this way. They have the entire base, all the rock, the water, not these parts that we put in, but they have the rock, the Namek grass, the black underbase, and then the base water all as one piece, which is kind of scary. And I think that's why I've seen a few people have breaks with this statue, not just me, but I've had a few people reach out to me with the same exact break as it goes around the entire base, pretty much where the seam line would have been. Kind of hard to see that I'm pointing at it, but it seems like Tsume didn't really think it through when it came to packaging this giant piece. But for them to make this all one piece and then have us slide this in the side, it kind of feels pointless, but all you do, this little spot in the back corner, slide it in and you are good to go. Now, I know when I did the Mad Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta review, I said I liked the fact that the Dragon Ball logo wasn't removable from the base. I kind of love it when it's done removable as well, I guess. I really don't know how to feel about it. I like it when there's not a piece to worry about, but then I also worry that these things can break and then you're not going to get a way to replace them. If you end up breaking a Dragon Ball logo or the Z breaks, you have to end up just peeling the whole thing out of it. So I do kind of like that these are just magnetic to the base, and they do look absolutely phenomenal. And one thing I do love that Tsume does, kind of what I mentioned on the Infinite Studio Life-Size Goku, is the pop-out 3D Dragon Ball. They're the only company I know of besides Infinite that's really done it. I'm sure there's been a few others, but the ones that always ring really true to me are Infinite Studio Life-Size Goku and Tsume products. So we don't bore you, we've got 6 red energy strands that will key into the ball above, and then we've also got 63 pieces of individual grass to put into this base. It's not a difficult piece to put together, but it is tedious. So we're going to try and speed that up so you don't have to sit there watching us do one by one. As you can see, we've completed the fun building portion of the Tsume Frieza. Now, one of the things I want to move our attention to is the COA that Tsume has given us with this Frieza. Now, there are 4,000 of these Friezas in production, and while that's a large ES, they didn't skimp at all when it came to the COAs. So it comes in this nice little booklet, and if we open it, which is also magnetized, we have the normal Tsume COA that came with the Broly and their Goku vs. Vegeta, and we also still get the metal COA, as well as a nice little card from Tsume explaining how much time and effort went into designing this statue, and I really do think that this is the evolution of COAs. When we move away from the plastic cards, Tsume did that a long time ago, and we start doing more of a booklet type presentation. I know Whitehole was known for doing it when they were still making Dragon Ball statues. I'm not sure if they still are, but I believe they put it on hold, at least for now. I believe it's the next step in regards to how we're going to be presenting our COAs when it comes to the different statues we have. One of the nice things about going through Hexapus that I got to experience is when I did have those breaks that we talked about earlier, I ended up getting shipped a whole new second box. Now, when I got shipped that whole new second box, I was kind of worried that it was going to be more so along the lines of an unnumbered base, that it was going to be a replacement base just from the factory. But what Hexapus ended up doing for me is they sent me a whole new production line base with an additional Frieza and 2 COAs. So that's why I do have 2 different COAs displayed right here. I ended up getting number 224, which is actually what matches the base on this statue. One of the things I absolutely love that Tsume has done, and when I had the Broly that they released, the King of Destruction, and the regular version, is they have swap outs for their power supplies. One of the great things about these is, unlike the one that we got from Mads, where we got 2 different power supplies all together, all we need to do is take one of these pieces, slide it on in the power connector, and you're good to go for your region. Tsume provided 4 different regions for their power supply. And I really do appreciate how easy it is to just swap these out. It's a space saver, and it just makes the whole process so much easier for the different regions that purchase this. Versus I've seen some studios where it will just be kind of like my Infinite Studio Goku, where it'll just be the Europe plug and you have to get the converter. This just makes it perfect for if you're reselling it, whether you're going to ship it within the States or to a different country. You don't have to worry about providing them with any sort of adapter, and it's just easy to unbox, plug in, and be good to go. Now I know it's a little bit darker in here, lights have gone down, and that's because we're going to be showing you what LEDs they've included with this Tsume Frieza. It's one of the weakest points of this statue in my opinion. The LEDs are very weak. They could have been a little bit brighter. I know with their King of Destruction Broly, that one is just eye-popping, it grabs your attention. But what I do love about this one is there are 3 different modes. So we've got the on option, which is just the base turns on, the ball turns on. It actually doesn't look half bad when the lights are turned off, but if you have any of your lights on, you're really not going to see it that well. Then we move on and we have a breathing effect where the ball just breathes in and out. There's no crazy effects that go with it. It looks nice. Again, in a dark room, this statue definitely can light up and stand out. But one of my favorite modes, and it takes a second to get going, is it's kind of like an attack, I would call it, LED, where it starts breathing, gets a little bit brighter, the base starts to light up a little bit, and then you have kind of like he's throwing the attack. It's electrifying. As you can see, it starts to pulsate a little bit, and then it goes really quickly. And I think that that's probably the best LED in this statue, but the problem is you have to wait for it to charge up. It kind of goes through its cycle. But again, I've seen worse LEDs on a statue. I've seen much better though. And for this being licensed and it's Tsume, it's really hard to let them get a pass on it. So what we're going to move on to now is we're going to be breaking down this statue on a 1 to 5 scale on different parts of the overall statue, and then we're going to give it a 1 out of 10 scale on what I think altogether. So when it comes to the base, I really do love everything they've done. I love the black underbase. I'm a big fan when we have those nice black circular underbases. I do not like when it's gravel or a rock or just a different texture. I like having my bases encapsulate a scene. I do love that if you look just a little bit up, we do get the nice water effects that are attached to the top of the base. And one thing I will say, as much as I like everything being attached to the base, this whole rock structure up until the orb is one giant piece. Now, I showed you guys at the beginning of the video that along the side of this, I got a huge crack all the way around, and that's just due to it being one giant piece. I feel like they really should have found a place to make a seam, whether it be underneath the water or even where the ball keys in at the top, because you're just asking to have a lot of those breaks when it comes to a statue of this size, and it also makes it really hard to move. So design-wise with the base, it's a little bit difficult to give it a perfect score, but I do love the rocks that they did incorporate into this base. I love all the shading that they have beneath the orb, and I also love the blue Namek grass. They're the blue-green Namek grass. It really does remind me of the anime when I look at it. So if I was going to give this base a rating, I would give it a 4 out of 5. I think it's phenomenal. There's not a lot I would change, but being somebody that had experienced breaks, I know a few other people that had experienced breaks in the rock formation, and just the overall awkwardness of lifting this up and putting it down, I can't give it a perfect score. And the moment I do have to take this apart, I have to move it, I should say, I'm going to have to take it all apart. Just because I have to tilt it back, I have to hold this rock structure just to be able to balance it properly. But again, wonderful base. I think they really did nail it, aside from just a few small things that we could improve on the next 1/4 scale coming from Tsume. Paint on this statue was always something that I was a little bit worried about just because there's so many different colors going on, and we've gotten a lot of Friezas where the chest, the head, the shoulders, the forearms, and the shins were either pink or an off purple or completely transparent, which I think is a really weird option because that's not how Frieza's ever been portrayed. But I really do love how Tsume nailed that purple color in Frieza. I love the different skin textures that you get all across the different parts of his body. I love the water's color effects that they've done, how it's a nice, I guess, light green see-through. All the way up, and again, I'll talk about this again, the rocks and Frieza's top of his hands, they have a nice red glow to them to really make it feel like this ball is there. I've never seen another studio really bounce different colors from the base off of the characters or just other parts of the base in and of itself. Even where Frieza's tail is cut off, it's a little bit penciled in, showing that it's damaged. I kind of wish we got a bloody effect, to be honest, but I know why we didn't. But I also do love how they painted the grass on Namek. I think it's darn near the perfect color. I can't think of anything I would change about the coloring of the grass that's on the base. And overall, if I had to rate the paint job altogether, I'd give it a 5 out of 5. I think that they did everything perfectly. I can't think of anything that I would personally change. And again, just that purple really stands out when you're looking at a collection. There's not many statues that have that saturated purple just front and center, right, hitting you in the face as soon as you walk by. Difficulty to assemble on this statue, I would give it about a 2 out of 5. And the reason I say it is it's not difficult. It's pretty easily labeled. There's a lot of little grass pieces and they all go in their respective spots. There's 3 different sizes, and the guide that I'm going to link from Tsume in the description below will have a step-by-step guide as well. The reason I will say that it's not difficult at all to assemble this is all the pieces just fit as they should. They've got key-in spots, especially for these electricity strands up above, but there are a few issues with the different parts that you are supposed to put into the base. One of the things being is the grass pieces don't really fit perfectly into their retrospective slots. You're going to need blue tack, just because if I touch some of these, they will fall right out and hit the floor, and I don't expect them to completely just be jammed in there and be stuck there for eternity, but I would have liked a little bit more snug of a fit on that. And the other thing that I noticed, and I'm not sure if anybody else has had this, so please, if you bought this statue and you're having the same issue that I'm having, let me know below. But my electricity strands, there's these little pegs that go in halfway through the strand to kind of key into the ball as well, and mine don't 100% fit as they should. So I'm not really sure why that would have happened. Maybe I have to try a different way to insert it into the ball, or maybe it's just a piece got warped in shipping and I just need to heat it up a little bit. But that was something that I did notice when it came to assembling this statue. So again, difficulty is a 2 out of 5. Nothing that anybody with a little bit of extra time would struggle with. When I look at statues that are difficult to put together, I look at things like last sleeve, and this is nowhere near a last sleeve piece. So again, definitely a good beginner piece when it comes to putting everything together. The last thing I want to go over on this statue is the LED system. Now, I think it's a really cool LED system. I love that we have 3 different options, but the LEDs, like I said before, they're some of the weakest I've seen in a statue in general. I know I've referenced like last sleeve 100 times already, but I'm going to do it again. Their statues' LEDs are still some of the brightest I've had, as well as some older MRC pieces. This one, it might be a little hard to tell, but the ball is on at the moment, and so is the base. You really can't tell in a lit room. It's just a very dull LED. I wish there was a way to replace it, maybe put in a brighter LED, but with how everything's wired, it's just not possible. So this is kind of what we have to deal with. And I know in the collecting community, not a lot of people want to turn on the LEDs because if any of them burn out, it kind of really depreciates the value of that statue, but I'm someone who loves to abuse LEDs in my statues. So for me, I give the LEDs a 3 out of 5. I own their KOD Broly, and to me, that's a 5 out of 5 LED where you have the eyes that just glow in the dark, and if you have all the lights on, the giant green orb glows perfectly. I'm just not sure how they missed the mark on this one, and I know I'm not alone when it comes to feeling that way about the LEDs in the statue. It's been a huge critique within the community itself. Overall, to me, this statue would be a 9 out of 10. I've had a few 10 out of 10s before. I think, and I know everybody considers the KOD Broly from Tsume to be very overrated. I thought the same thing until I had it in person. To me, that's a 10 out of 10 statue. That's one that I really can't think of anything I would change. This one I have a few critiques. Even though this to me is the absolute best Frieza we've ever gotten, I don't see anybody ever beating this Frieza, to be quite honest. There's just a few things that could have been done better. And then it comes down to things like having the base in different pieces, having the grass fit a little more snug. The LED system's really what tanks this review just a little bit. If it wasn't for the LEDs, I could overlook everything else and give this a 10 out of 10. But again, LEDs really do make or break statues in my opinion. So again, 9 out of 10 for me. I would change those few things. Some things I think that they did perfectly. Again, I think the paint app is perfect. I love the certificate of authenticity. I like how we got the metal plaque. And I love how we also still have our paper COA. And then I love the little note that they put in there, and it's all in just a nice little book. So again, Tsume knocked it out of the park with this one. We're not going to get a better Frieza than this for a very long time in my opinion. And I look forward to seeing what their Goku looks like. I have not ordered it yet, but I've been very tempted to. But that sticker shock, it's really hard for me to go all in on it, especially when we've got things like the MRC Goku, and then we even have other studios making a very similar scene. So right now, Tsume is the king of Frieza. Thank you everybody for stopping by and staying till the end of the video. Please like, comment, subscribe. It really helps grow the channel. If you ended up purchasing this statue, please leave a comment below. Let me know what your thoughts were. Did you have any concerns when you received it? Are you looking forward to the Tsume Super Saiyan Goku statue that's coming out? And is there anything else you'd like to see me review in the future that I may not have already done? Thank you everybody for stopping by, and we'll see you next time.